and gentlemen, hello and welcome to our English news edition, coming to you from Canal, Algérie to the headlines. The President of the Republic, Abdelmajid Tebboune, holds a phone call with his Italian counterpart, Sergio Mattarella, during which they reviewed several sectors of bilateral cooperation. The ordinary parliamentary session 2022-2023 is kicked off with a steadfast determination to put into concrete the commitments made by the President of the Republic. Pursuant to the instructions of the President of the Republic, the advisor to the President of the Republic in charge of the external affairs supervises the compensation process of the fire's victims. The personal envoy of the UN Secretary General for Western Sahara, Stefan de Mistura, meets with the Sahrawi officials to discuss the situation in quest of a fair and lasting settlement. Good evening, those were today's headlines. First in our news, the President of the Republic, Abdelmajid Tebboune, held a phone call with the Italian President, Sergio Mattarella, during which they exchanged views on bilateral relations and hailed the solidity of these exceptional high-level relations established between the two friendly countries in several domains. On this occasion, the two presidents discussed ways to accelerate the implementation of the results of the visits of the two heads of state and the decisions taken in the interest of the two peoples, and highlighted the necessity of keeping channels open for coordination and consultation. On Sunday morning, the ordinary session of the two chambers of Parliament 2022-2023 kicked off a session held in the premises of the Council of the Nation, chaired by Saleh Koujil, President of the Council, in the presence of the Speaker of the National Popular Assembly, in a session held in the premises of the Council of the Nation, chaired by Saleh Koujil, President of the Council, in the presence of the Speaker of the National Popular Assembly, Ibrahim Boughali, the Prime Minister Ayman bin Abdurrahman, as well as members of the government. The session began by reciting Al-Fatiha in the memory of the victims of the recent fires. This session was preceded by another in the National Popular Assembly under the chairmanship of Ibrahim Boughali, President of the National People's Assembly, in the presence of the President of the Council of the Nation, Saleh Koujil, the Prime Minister Ayman bin Abdurrahman, and members of the government. At the beginning, the President recited Al-Fatiha in memory of the fire victims in several provinces of the country. In cooperation, the President of the National People's Assembly, Ibrahim Boughali, received the Malaysian Deputy Foreign Minister, Dato Kamaruddin Jaafar, now on a visit to Algeria. The Malaysian Deputy Foreign Minister, Dato Kamaruddin Jaafar, was also received by the Algerian Foreign Affairs Minister, Ramtan Lamamra. On this occasion, the two officials discussed bilateral relations in addition to the prospect of injecting a new dynamic to the historical relations between Algeria and Malaysia. The two officials further highlighted the necessity to enrich the judicial frame of cooperation between the two countries and reactivating the mechanisms of bilateral partnership, especially the Algerian-Malaysian Joint Commission. The Minister of Foreign Affairs and the National Community abroad, Ramtan Lamamra, had a phone call with his Syrian counterpart, Faisal al-Muqdad, who assured that his country prefers to not evoke the issue of resuming its seat in the Arab League during the Arab Summit to be held in Algeria. This option is meant to further close Arab ranks in facing the current regional and international challenges. In implementation of the President of the Republic's instructions, the advisor to the President of the Republic in charge of the external affairs, Abdelhafid Allahum, accompanied by the National Solidarity Minister, Kawthar Karikou, supervised the distribution of the indemnities to the families of the Taraf fires victims. 16 families in this province received 1 million dinars for each victim. Souqahra, Saadnaba, Galma, Sitif, and Constantine are equally concerned by the operation Najah.
After the silence moment in memory of the last fire's victims in Taraf province, the advisor to the President of the Republic in charge of external relations and the National Solidarity Minister handed financial packages to the victims. 16 families were concerned by this operation. The President of the Republic is very affected by the sight of the human losses. A human soul is irreplaceable, but the President of the Republic is providing aid for each victimized family. In line with the President of the Republic instructions of allocating financial aid to the fire victims' families, the amount of 1 million dinars is allotted to each family to reduce the moral impact. We are today here with you to hand the aid in the concerned provinces. Despite the painful human losses, the families expressed their gratitude to the Algerian government that helped and accompanied them since the outbreak of fires. We thank the President of the Republic who sided with us. Nothing can replace lives, but we felt the presence of the government and the support of the Algerian people. The financial compensation concerned the provinces of Stif, Galma and Annaba hit by the recent fires.
In line with the President's guidelines, similar financial packages were handed to the fire-hit families in Souqahras province. More details with Rania Al-Bahri.
14 affected families from Souqahras province received their compensation on Sunday. The delivery of the financial packages was supervised by the advisor to the President of the Republic in charge of external relations, Abdel Hafid Allaham, and the Minister of Solidarity, Kautar Kriku. I thank the Algerian state, the local authorities, and the President of the Republic. They did their duty toward us and provided us with the necessary material and moral assistance. We thank the President of the Republic for the initiative and support. May God grant us patience for our martyrs. I thank everyone who offered us condolences by phone call or by messages. I also thank the President of the Republic and all the ministerial staff.
ما عندهاش تعويض مالي ولكني فهمتني هذه إعانة فهمتني رئيس السيد رئيس الجمهورية. نريد نقدم لكم تحية السيد رئيس الجمهورية.
شكرا سيدي الرئيس وشكرا السلطات المحلية.
هذه ربانية.
The immediate support of families affected is a commitment of the state. The President of the Republic has entrusted this mission to the National Commission for the Assessment and Compensation of Forest Fire Victims. In implementation of the decision of the President of the Republic to allocate financial subsidies to the family of the fire victims, we are here today among you to hand over these subsidies and provide it to the hit families in the province, as well as the death allowance granted by Social Security funds in accordance with the provisions. State efforts are still under to help these affected families to resume their normal life and rebuild what has been damaged by these devastating wildfires.
In the higher education sector, new facilities have been inaugurated in Dia province ahead of the new academic year to the great delight of the managing staff, teachers and students. Let's discover more in this report by Najah Tayyar.
New educational infrastructures were inaugurated to reinforce the reception capacity of the higher education sector in Mdia province. The new university campus is endowed with a University for Sciences and a University for Technology, as well as staff accommodation for the teachers. The University of Sciences has 3,000 teaching positions, as well as for the Technology College we also have 22 research laboratories and a campus. In addition to 50 staff accommodation have been distributed for the benefit of the teachers. This university center covers an area of 120 hectares. It was entirely carried out by a state public works company. This infrastructure will come into service from the start of the 2022-2023 academic year. Blida province has also a new University of Veterinary Sciences. The inauguration of this infrastructure will make it possible to start the new school year in good conditions. This college has 2,000 teaching positions. This will increase the reception capacity and will facilitate the working conditions of the teachers and will guarantee better care for the students. This also will help alleviate the pressure on the University of Blida 1, so far overloaded. These achievements will have, for sure, a positive impact on the performance of the managing staff, researchers, and students.
On the first day of his visit to the Sahrawi refugee camp, the personal envoy of the UN Secretary General for Western Sahara, Staffan de Mistura, held meetings with the Chief of Staff of the Sahrawi Army. On the second day, he met with a member of the Polisario Secretariat to discuss the current situation. Manal Amari tells us more.
The United Nations personal envoy Staffan de Mistura had a sincere exchange with members of the Sahrawi Consultative Council and the Sahrawi National Council in charge of the Sahrawi cause. The latter called on the UN to seriously process the Sahrawi file, while the UN called for countering or blocking the Makhzen regime's stubbornness. Even though de Mistura made no official statements, he has followed with great interest debates, namely on the issue of the resumption of armed struggle, that is a choice dictated by the Moroccan occupant. We hope that this report will prove to the UN Security Council that Sahrawis made tremendous efforts and sacrifices in order to settle this conflict peacefully. De Mistura has to put pressure on the Moroccan occupant to find a solution that guarantees self-determination for the Sahrawi people. In a similar context, the personal envoy of the UN Secretary General for Western Sahara held long discussions with the Chief of Staff of the Sahrawi Army, as well as members of the delegation in charge of negotiations, who highlighted the necessity of constructively moving forward with the political process in Western Sahara. The Sahrawi people are unanimous and determined to continue their fight while demanding the right to self-determination and independence. This visit allowed him to get a glimpse of the generally prevailing situation and tackled military issues that interest him. We also delivered messages from veterans and the Sahrawi people. On the second and last day of his visit to the Sahrawi refugee camps, the personal envoy of the UN Secretary General for Western Sahara, Staffan de Mistura, met with the President of the Sahrawi Arab Democratic Republic, Brahim Ghali, with a view of finding a lasting settlement to the Sahrawi issue.
Participants in the 6th high-level meeting of the follow-up committee of the implementation of the Peace and Reconciliation Agreement in Mali, stemming from the Algiers process, held in Bamako, advocated reinforcing the international community pressure for the implementation of the agreement. The meeting took place in the presence of Malian signing parties and members of the international mediation under the chairmanship of the Minister of Foreign Affairs. In his speech, Ramtan Lamamra, as leader of international mediation, welcomed the participation of all the members of the follow-up committee, highlighting the encouraging and promising context in which comes the meeting. Algeria welcomed with satisfaction the nomination of Professor Abdoulaye Batili as the Secretary General's Special Representative for Libya and head of the United Nations Support Mission in Libya. Algeria expressed its willingness to cooperate closely to carry out the noble mission entrusted to him. Algeria further called on all the Libyan parties to fully cooperate with him to the interest of the brotherly Libyan people, indicates Foreign Affairs Ministry communiqué. The President of the Republic, who had the opportunity to personally evoke with Professor Batili the Libyan crisis and other hotbed of tension in Africa, is delighted by this decision and assures the new Special Representative for Libya his full support. He further hailed the General Secretary of the United Nations, Antonio Guterres, for this judicious choice and the Security Council for the approval of this unanimous appointment. The President has also expressed to his brother Macky Sall, President of Senegal and the current Chairman of the African Union, his satisfaction for this distinction of this worthy son of Senegal and Africa to lead this mission for peace in Libya. Let's head to Tamanrasset province to discover the site of Isikarasin, known for its beauty and tranquility that attracts tourists, a unique place that Anya Al-Bahri makes us discover.
A refreshing spring water at the heart of this great desert, green landscapes with a pleasant climate, natural at the core of Isikarasin in Tamanrasset province, a paradise on earth where tranquility reigns, embellished by birds' chirp. The name of Isikarasin comes from the Tergi language, which means ice, because this water remains frozen in winter as in summer. If you come here in June or July, you will find that this water is always freezing. Near this long river hides this humid environment, located between the Hagar Mountains and Herafuk village, thus composing an ecosystem suitable for several animal and bird species. We came to visit Isikarasin. This region is surprisingly beautiful. Look how green it is. This site is magnificent. We can see these images on social networks. It is not like being here and seeing with your own eyes the splendor of the place. These regions such as Isikarasin, Herafuk or Askram, which is also our next destination, are to be visited absolutely. This tourist site in Atakur Mountains is very attractive. It awakens the spirit of discovery and adventure in our country.
And with these beautiful images, we wrap up our news bulletin. Thank you for watching. Have a great night.